Hey, welcome back to A-Aron Reacts, and we're back for part two of Money Game with Ren. And guys, I am on a Ren high right now because I did the 10 million or 1 million subscribers video and Money Game part one back to back, and now part two back to back to back. So I want to make sure that you're aware when I do this. I said I probably would do this in part one, but I want to make sure you're aware as we get into this that I have not seen your comments as I do this. I literally just did part one and I'm recording part two now. So I'm literally going back to back. So please keep that in mind that if you left me a comment in part one, because this is going to be released later than this part two is going to be released later than part one. If you left me a comment in part one, I'm not going to be including that in part of this commentary, right? I'm doing it all at once and I'll read them all. So it'll be interesting. So, but yeah, I think I'm on quite a bit of a high on that first one, and I did a lot of talking in that. So let's jump right in. Part two, Money Game. Nice.
Strange time we're living in panic and hysteria.
Wow.
Poor man learn, the rich man don't care for your narcissist mindset spread like malaria. Sit back and watch the show. America, Britain split through fickle shit. A government of hypocrites. These counterfeit politicians sit in parliament, not adequate. Come on. Needlessly bleeding resources all dry. Turn a blind eye if it means a pay rise. Oh, what a shame it would be, I would die if number 10 Downing Street burned in a fire. Only joking, only messing, don't be stressing. I'm a peaceful adolescent, there's no need to be unpleasant. Write my thesis in a rhyme scheme to analyze the brain while my fingers on the trigger of a money game. Oh, rain, rain, rain.
Oh, nice. So he goes back to the same. Wow, that was just potent. I think is the best word that comes to mind. Oh my goodness. I gotta look up 10 Downing Street though. Give me just a second. Okay, I'm back. So 10 Downing Street is where the Prime Minister lives. It's the house of the Prime Minister in the UK. Sorry, I'm American ignorance. I didn't know that. But he's basically saying, "Oh, what a shame it would be if number 10 Downing Street burned in a fire." And then he said, "Only joking, only messing around. This isn't a threat, right?" So I think it's important to throw those things out there now. Where if we're in an era where if you say the word bomb in an airport, you might as well get arrested. Um, but this is a real thing, by the way, since I'm talking about that. I know that in my school I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they've educated parents to talk to their kids, and we have that, these types of threats of gun violence and things to that effect are not tolerated, right? Because it goes back to what we taught in Money Game Part One of free speech versus hatred and versus violence, right? There's the concept of free speech, but I don't think it's oppression when it's at the safety or risk of humankind, and that's a tough moral line to draw, and a tough political line to draw. At least in the U.S., our first most basic right is freedom of speech, right? But not at the cost or expense of hurting or inciting violence or otherwise, right? And I think that there are some fine lines that need to be drawn, maybe more clearly there. But anyway, let's analyze what we got so far. And this is the perfect place to stop at, actually, right? Is this marching of the soldiers going to commit war acts? Um, the imagery here is just insane, right? They're like he's showing all of these actual historical events that bring things to light, the actual impact of this money game. And then lyrically he says, strange times we're living in, panic and hysteria. Oh, by the way, I'm experimenting a little bit, so I changed my layout, so hopefully you see me looking at the camera more right now. I moved up my lyrics so that even as I'm reading them, I'm looking more to the camera. Let me know if you see or notice a difference in that. I'm trying to always be better. And then the other thing I'm doing is I'm experimenting with showing the lyrics on the screen and so forth. And I think eventually I'll figure it out. But just any feedback is worthwhile. So, but yeah, strange times we're living in. Panic and hysteria. Poor man learned the rich man don't care for you. Narcissist mindset spreads like malaria. Sit back and watch the show, America. Oh my gosh, do I feel that one? Because the amount of narcissism that we have from some of our leaders is absolutely absurd. And there's this belief that everybody's narcissistic, which just isn't true. Some actual leaders actually care about people. Britain split through fickle shit, a government of hypocrites. These counterfeit politicians sit in parliament, not adequate. Yeah, so there's the Britain Brexit, um, and government of hypocrites, counterfeit politicians. So I don't know much about politics of Britain, so I can't comment a ton on that. But clearly, they're talking about that in Parliament, not adequate. Needlessly bleeding resources all dry, turn a blind eye if it means a pay rise. Oh my goodness, right? Self gain over ethics and morals, right? It's important to understand the impact of the decisions that we make. Always. Look, I can't speak to some of the things that they're talking about political politics side, but I can absolutely say with absolute conviction that one of the hardest things I had to do in my life was to lay off 85 people. Right? Post pandemic, I had a team of, 180 reporting up to me, and I had to lay off 85 people, and that was so hard. So hard. And I think that what allowed me to do it with conviction and to actually lead people is to actually care, is to actually listen to them, is to actually understand and relate to them that I understand. I've been laid off myself before. That to, you know, accept it, right? Just like Ren talked about in the million subscribers, deal with it. Um, don't overshadow how difficult it is, for those people, because those people were you at one point, and they can be you again, and that everybody deals with these tough times. And so I'm not claiming that I led people through that the best way possible, but I feel good, but that I stuck true to my ethics and morals, and that sometimes there were decisions that were outside of my control, but I fought for them. And I can stand strong here today knowing I did the right thing. And there's times in my life I can't. And I think it's important to learn from every experience, and you learn just as much from when you do things right, and and what else could I have done better in those situations. So I even had a retro with those as they were leaving, as well as those retrospective, right? Common kind of term in technology, as well as those that stayed of like, what could we have done better and so forth. So always be learning, always be growing, but stand by your morals and ethics. Yeah. Needlessly bleeding resources all dry. Turn a blind eye if it means a pay rise. Don't sell yourself out, right? In fact, he talked about that specifically in High Rent, right? When his voice is saying, talking to each other, basically saying, I'm not willing to sell myself out. I've got good things going on. We're changing people. We're making a difference here. I'm not going to go sign up for some music label. To analyze the brain while my finger's on the trigger of a money game, right? So I'm pretending that I'm actually analyzing things or understanding it, but I also am part of the cause. Remember that. We all are. And I even, between making these videos, I did some self reflection. And I thought, how hypocritical of me to be doing a video on money game, which I didn't understand exactly what it was going into it. I had some ideas, but how hypocritical of me to say, I'm going to be asking for your money for a membership, right? And it got me thinking about it. Now, after more thought, I felt convicted that maybe the best thing I can do is similar to what I just said, is listen. But I know that it's for good reason, and I know that it's going to go towards a good cause, and I know that I'm doing it for the right reasons. So I don't have any shame or greed in that. But I did a lot of reflecting, actually, because it's easy to read the lyrics of what Ren's saying and not actually look back at yourself. Well, they and them and this and the system and everything, but actually reflect in yourself. Actually look in the mirror. And I could bet you that over these next couple days or weeks, I'm going to be doing a lot of self-reflection. And I think this is what you guys talked about when you told me there's life post-Ren. I think this is what you're talking about, is the change that comes within ourselves that we can impact through each other. And I promise you, I will do some self-reflection. I promise you that. What will you do? Even if you've seen this 100 times, reflect on what you can do different. How can you change? How can you know what? Even if you can't change the system, how can you treat people differently? How can you change that? And then he says, "Oh, rain, rain, rain," back like we saw in the first video. It's the same melody. We're hearing the same thing. And by the way, the beat is very similar, but now it's almost like he's amplifying it. We've got more pieces to the pie. Instead of it just being guitar, there's more instruments. It's amplified. And now we're seeing situations where this effect that we're seeing is applying more to the masses. It's actual more societal as opposed to individual victim.
My fingers on the trigger of a money game. Oh, rain, 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 rain.
I love that. It's so catchy.
And no surprise to distorted lies, poison in the.
You know, I took a quick break and, between these videos, went to the bathroom and stuff, and I couldn't stop getting that rain, 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 sound out of my mind there. Very catchy.
Poison in the veins, but we like to point blame, 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 blame.
And listen how he does it. But we like to point, like the enunciation there. But we like to point. I love that because he's really drawing emphasis to it. And then he just softens it with blame as if it's nothing. It's easier to blame. It's easier to point the finger elsewhere.
But we like to point blame, 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 blame. It's easier to blame. We point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game.
It hits so hard. Oh, I love that again.
This old money game.
So good. He's so good.
This old. Money is a game and the ladder we climb turns a saint into a sinner with his finger in crime. I'll break it down for you, mother. Line by line, this is business economics in a nursery rhyme. She sells seashells on a seashore, but the value of these shells will fall due to the laws of supply and demand. No one wants to buy shells because there's loads on the sand. Step one, must create a sense of scarcity. Shells will sell much better if the people think they're rare, you see. Bear with me, take as many shells as you can find and hide them on an island. Stockpile them high until they're rarer than a diamond. Step two, gotta make the people think that they want them, really want them, really want them. Hit them like Bronson. Influencers, product placement, featured primetime entertainment. If you haven't got a show, then you're just a waste man. Free, it's monopoly. Invest inside some property. Start a corporation, make a logo, do it properly. Shells must sell, that will be a new philosophy. Swallow all your morals, they're a poor man's quality. 4. Expand, expand, expand. Clear forest, make land, fresh blood on hands. 5. Why just shells? Why limit yourself? She sells seashells, sell oil as well. 6. Guns, sell stock, sell diamonds, sell rock, sell water to a fish, sell the time to a clock. 7. Press on the gas, take your foot off the brakes, then run to be the president of the United States. 8. Big smile, make big wave, that's great. Now the truth is overrated, tell lies out the gate. 9. Polarize the people, controversy is the game. It don't matter if they hate you, if they all say your name. 10. The world is yours, step out on the stage to a round of applause. You're a liar, cheat, a devil, a whore, and you sell seashells on the seashore. Rain, 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 rain.
Wow.
A storm, it comes our way. And no surprise to distorted lies, poison in the veins, but we like to point the blame, 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 blame. It's easier to blame. We point the mirror at ourselves. We're all part of this whole money game. This old money game.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So it just occurred to me that I didn't even talk about something I was really thinking about in the first money game. He's genuinely explaining basic economics and how it works. But I think the concept is he's trying to point out that it's engineered, right? So this corruption is engineered from the get-go, and that the system is pre-built and deliberately designed in a way that caters to people's weaknesses, that is greed hungry, that is power hungry, and so forth. And that it's not by happenstance or chance that things are the way they are, right? But let's break this down. So he says, money is a game on the ladder we climb, turns a saint into a sinner with his finger in crime, right? So the higher up in the ladder you go, the more you become more of a sinner, right? Your finger's on the crime and so forth. And then he says, I'll break it down for you, MFers, line by line. This is business economics in a nursery rhyme. Gosh, he is dropping bars. And then he says, she sells seashells on a seashore, which, if you remember in High Ren, he said that same line, right? The bad Ren was like, she sells seashells on the seashore. And it's kind of this tongue twister that we use in English, right? Sally sells seashells on a seashore, to say it multiple times real fast. So it's kind of this play on words, but the idea that he uses, he elaborates on, right? But the value of these shells will fall due to the laws of supply and demand. No one wants to buy the shells because there's loads on the sand, right? And so supply and demand, and again, it is basic economics. Like he's genuinely sharing with us, right? And so ultimately, if there is supply, there's not a high demand. They tend to offset one another. In other words, it doesn't matter what it is. If there's a lot of it, why would I want to buy it, or why do I care too much? There's plenty of it. But the moment there becomes scarcity, right, then it becomes a commodity. Some people want it, and so forth. So he says, step one, you must create a sense of scarcity. And, I know this as a marketer, that, you often want to create a sense of scarcity in people's mind. It's a tactic, right? And to be clear, I've leveraged some of these tactics, but I always, I guess, justify it, but it's genuine to myself that I don't promote things I don't believe in. I don't actually manipulate people. I want them to actually realize what they actually believe in and things to that effect. So I think there is a side to that. You can absolutely use those forces of understanding human psychology for evil, right? But anyway, shells will sell much better if the people think they're rare, you see. Bear with me. Take as many shells as you can find and hide them on an island. Stockpile them. In other words, get rid of them. Right? Make people believe that they're rare until they're rarer than a diamond. You got to make the people think that they want them, really effing want them. Hit them like Bronson, influencers, product placement, feature primetime entertainment. Right? If you haven't got a shell, then you're just an effing waste man. Right? So in other words, blow it up, make it known, make it, you put that imagery, right? Coca-Cola, I studied branding in that marketing pursuit, right? And Coca-Cola is kind of the most recognized, historically speaking, the most recognizable brand. They've got this concept of kind of the red thread throughout everything they do, and that color red is associated with Coca-Cola, just that simple color, because they've branded it, they've placed it so much, and they understand that, right? And here what he's saying is you create that scarcity, and now you make them think they want it, right? 3, it's a monopoly. Invest some property, start a corporation, make a logo, do it properly. Shells must sell. That will be your new philosophy. Swallow all your morals. They're a poor man's quality, right? So now make a business out of it. Turn it into a profit cash cow. And then create a brand behind it. Ultimately, instilling in people the belief that they're doing something for the correct reason. And this is one of the biggest challenges with a lot of systems and even capitalism and corporate systems, is that even bad, evil companies that do things for the wrong reasons, there are often plenty of people in that system that aren't even aware that they think they're doing things for the right way, right? They're corrupt and don't even know it. They're a part of that system. They're a part of that money game. Swallow all your morals. They're a poor man's quality. In other words, if you have morals, you can't get ahead, right? Because you're going to have to at some point find a way to cut or cheat the system in order to get ahead, because it's designed, it's a flawed system, meaning that if you want to get ahead, that you've got to make bargains or deals or get rid of your morals. And I think that in a lot of ways that's true, but please don't sell yourself for the devil, so to speak. I don't think that's true across the board, and I think that we could change that. I think that we can unite and we could change that and we could stand for something, and you can actually find what you're looking for standing for something. You can actually be successful standing for something, not getting rid of your morals. 5, why just sell shells? Why limit yourself? She sells seashells, sell oil as well. Now that's super powerful because in a business case, I also took a course at Harvard for becoming a better manager, and there was a case study there about different types of businesses, and then you had your choice to go in different paths. And I remember looking at an article that talked about Shell and its origins, and its name came from the term Shell, which obviously is an oil company today. So I wonder if that line is a play on the actual Shell company, right? Why shells? Why just shells? Why limit yourself? She sells seashells, sell oil as well. And gosh, that is so hard to say, but I feel like now that I'm hearing him say it multiple times, I can say it quicker. She sells seashells. Um, every bit of this is packed with so much punch. Guns, sell stocks, sell diamonds, sell rocks, sell water to a fish, sell the time into a clock. Sell anything. Why not? You're making money. Who cares about the people? And this runs deep, right? Similar to what we talked about in part 1. Press on the gas, take your foot off the brakes, run to be the president of the United States. Power, money. Oh my gosh. Big smile, mate. And by the way, there was imagery through all of this. I mean, the stuff that was on there was just unbelievable. I'd have to go back and rewind all that there was, but there was so much. Big smile, mate, big wave, that's great. Now the truth is overrated. Tell lies out the gate. In other words, forget about it all at this point. Just start telling lies. Who cares? Which I believe is, we got to change that, right? You got to stand up for it. And since a lot of it is politically tied, let me just say, don't vote for liars and cheats and so forth. I hear this underlying theme of people say, well, we put up with this person even though they've got all these bad issues because I believe it'll make a difference. No, 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 no. It is the character that matters most. It's the morals, it's the ethics, it's the person who they are that matters the most. Don't put that aside. Put that at the front. Put that at the forefront. Highlight that. Who are they deep down inside? Do they actually care for you? Will they actually make a change? That's what matters more than anything. Don't put that aside. Oh my gosh, you're getting me going here, man. 10, the world is yours. Step out on the stage to a round of applause. You're a liar, a cheat, a devil, a whore, you sell seashells on the seashore. And then he goes into the rain, rain, rain in the repeating chorus. So now you get the spotlight. You've achieved it. You get your success. You get that money. You're on top. Get your applause. You've done it. Yet again, it is just so potent, poignant, just piercing. These messaging. And there's so many themes interwoven and so much complexity. And the other thing, now that I'm so gone and remembering. By the way, I often have like 5 or 10 things that when I see your comments, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. Because there's just so much. So keep that in mind, please, when you're making comments to reactors. Because they don't talk about something doesn't mean they missed it. It doesn't mean they didn't understand it. Right? There's so much to cover here on the first listen and watch, right? But the imagery that we saw little clips of Ren and the person dressed up in part 1 of the money game into that video. And also the TV set, showing the fact that it's kind of this TV and it's broken up, it's kind of retro, and the idea that we're watching it unfold, that we as a society aren't a part of it, right? It's the irony of all of this. It's the fact that we're watching it unfold as if we're not a part of it, but we're ingrained in the system. We need to look back in the mirror, going back to part 1. We're all a part of it. It's not just blame them. It's really easy to look on TV and look at all the things that are there as we watch it unfold and say it doesn't apply to me, or I'm not a part of that, or I can't change that. But no, you can. And the fact that he embeds the individual, right? The victim, the perpetrator, the person of power on top from part one that we talked about into that video is a part of the system. It's a part of it. So now he's tying the two of those together, and he's changed the scale, right? So when we looked at it, we looked at kind of the metaphorical representation on the individuals in the first part, right? And we opened up our eyes to see the reality and the truth behind everything, and the fact that we might have masks on and so forth. But now we see that that's all part of a system that is manipulated, is pre-programmed, it's part of bigger causes, it's part of actual history, actual reality, and that we're interwoven into all of that. But we still don't know, and that's how I remembered to talk about this. We still don't know, right, if that person behind the white cloak, if you will, was actually Ren himself, the character, or not. We also don't know if he actually burned himself or what. So all these, again, these twists and turns, that give and take, that but therefores that we talked about in part one. I absolutely love you, Ren. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank all of you for continuing to support Ren and me and all the reactors and everything you do. But let me make this a point and just say, what Ren wants is not for us to consume this information. Okay, I might be misinterpreting, but I'm pretty sure after hearing what I read in the million, or saw in his, well, he read it, so in the million subscribers video, and understanding what I know this far, this is only like my fifth or sixth Ren video. So I don't claim to really know him well, but if I understand him correctly, what Ren wants is not for us just to listen and hear this. Ren wants us to impact change, to go out there and do something. So what I'd love to hear is not your comments about how awesome this is, or how awesome I am, or I got this, or I didn't get this. I want to hear how you are going to go out there and make a change. What are you going to do? What can we, as a Ren community, what do you call that? Reniverse, I think maybe is the most appropriate one. What can we do to rally, to make change, to impact good, to become better people? That's what he wants, and that's what I challenge you to actually embrace and step up to. I'll leave it at that. Once again, I thank you. I absolutely love you. Thank you much. And I think maybe in the timing wise, in the next video, I'll be able to enroll this membership I was talking about. And let me know if you're interested in joining that in the comments. I just want to get a poll. Regardless, and I realize it's kind of ironic in the state of money game, but I talked about that in this video, and I don't feel bad about it. I will reflect more about it and see if there's ways maybe I can do it and so forth. But I know that at the end of the day, I'm providing value to you, and that in order for me to invest additional time in that, it's taking away from other parts, and so I need to see some returns that hopefully eventually I could see an end game where I could get to do this full time. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you much, and we will see in part 3, which I'm going to actually sit down and do right now, back to back to back. So we'll see you there. Take care.